Hello everyone, this is Music Master, and today we're doing another training video. In my last training video, we did a train on musical notes. On our last training video, we did a basic lesson on musical theory, which is rhythm and beat. And I'm just gonna turn this off for a second, so I don't waste too much. Let me just stand up. Okay, so let's do a review before we continue. So in our last lesson, we talked about rhythm. We talked about how there are two concepts to music. We talked about that there's rhythm and there's beat. Now, a beat goes something like this: 2, 3, 4, or it can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And beat-wise, we have special rhythms, and those rhythms could go like ta ta ah 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 ah. Now, and then we also talked about how we have different notes. We have different notes to represent how we're doing the rhythm. So we've got a whole note which takes 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got a half note which takes 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then a quarter note takes 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we've got our 8th notes. That takes half a beat. And we count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 16th notes are really nice. And then the smallest form is 16th notes, which is half of an 8th note. So we have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That is a 16th note. And then beat-wise, we talked about time signature. So we talked about what a time signature means. It means that the first number in a time signature means how many beats there are in a measure, and then the second beat in the time signature means the second number in the time signature is what note represents each beat. So if we have a time signature that says, so if you look at a musical score and you see a time signature that says 4/4 time, it means that there are 4 beats in a measure and each beat is worth a quarter note. 3/4 means there are 3 beats in a measure and each beat is worth a quarter note. And there are really complicated time signatures that you can see in classical music scores like 6/8 or whatnot, but we're not going to get into that. We're getting into basic time signature, which are 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you about legato and staccato, as well as chromatic notes and scales. And that's why I have my loops on the bench, because that's for the chromatic notes. So before I get started with notes, we're going to talk about legato and staccato. So when you see a music score and you see a legato, let me use my piano for an example here. When I see, I'm just gonna put my loops on my lap here, but when you see a part where it says legato, it means the notes have to be held for longer. So a legato could mean, legato is like this. And then if we were to do it in staccato, it goes like this. So the difference here is that with legato, you're holding it long. And so legato again, and and then staccato goes like. So if you're a musician, you can clearly tell the difference, because when you see a legato, it means you have to play the note for longer. But if you see staccato, then the note has to be cut off short. Now, if I'm doing it legato, it goes da 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 da. So it's different, because if you have a short, so basically a staccato and a legato is really, when you see a legato, it means you play the note for longer, and then when you see a staccato, it means you play the note shorter. Now, when we do woodwinds, because I am a flute player, when you're playing an instrument that you blow, and you might know when you're in the high school band, but your band teacher, at least for me, my band teacher always said, legato, if you're going to do a legato, you need to be, so especially because I'm a flute player, when you're doing legato, you have to be tonguing. And this also applies for a recorder too. You have to go do, 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 do. Staccato, however, is done like toot, toot, toot. So staccato is more of like a shorter tonguing. So basically when you're doing woodwinds and you're doing legato and staccato, when you do a legato, you're doing a tonguing for a bit longer, so you're actually holding the air longer. When you're doing the staccato, though, you're actually tonguing and then stopping the air right away. Toot, toot, toot. At least that's how I did it. I don't know how you guys did it, but basically when you do legato and staccato, it's the way you tongue it affects the sound when you're playing woodwinds. So, okay, we're going to talk about chromatic notes. I'll be right back, you guys. All right, I'm back. I just had to go set up my loops. Okay, so I'll show you something. Next we're going to talk about notes, like musical notes and scales. So basically, when we're in elementary, or when I was in elementary, we learned something called the pentatonic scale. And the pentatonic scale goes something like this. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I can adjust the volume on it, but I'm going to have to go back to the main menu to do it. But anyway, so the pentatonic scale is C, D, E, G, A. Now, if we were to do it in solfege, it goes something like do, re, mi, sol, la. And that's what you usually start with. So, and then we learn the diatonic scale, which is in fact the whole C major scale. And that goes on, and you guys should know the C major scale, but I'll show you just in case. So basically the pentatonic, what's different from the pentatonic scale compared to the diatonic scale is that the pentatonic scale takes out these two notes. And it takes out those two notes. And so the pentatonic scale is basically a 5-note scale because pent in Latin means 5. And then a diatonic scale is a 7-note or a whole octave scale. So I'll show you the scale from C to middle C to high C and then back down. Oh, sorry. My thing gets in the other loop. Because this one, what you have to do with this one is, so these two, they're on one, these 4 are on one note, and then the rest of the notes are on 2 loops. So I'll show you one more time. Oh, okay. Anyway, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F, E, C, D. Sorry, E, D, C. Okay. Now, hold on. I'm just gonna, I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. I'll get the volume up here.
Select your game. Volume 4. Volume 5. Music Studio. Select your instrument.
Hold on.
Ready, go.
Sorry, I got it a bit louder, so you guys can probably hear. So. Oh, really? So, again, the pentatonic scale goes something like this. So, here's what I was gonna say. We're gonna talk about octaves. So, an octave is basically, octave can be the same note but in a different level. So this is C4, which is basically middle C. So C on the 4th octave. So if you see on music and stuff, or handbells or choir chimes, you see the note and then the octave number. That's the number of the octave. So this is C4. That's C4. This is C5. And that is C. This is also C. This is also C. So that's 1 octave apart. Now I can do it the same way. D to D. So that's basically the basic concept of octave. So it can be C to C, D to D. It can even include sharps, and we're going to mention that later. So, okay, so next we're going to talk about sharps and flats, and that's where the chromatic notes come in. So I'm just going to put my thing aside here. So I'm going to use my piano for this one, because I can only use that one for the natural notes. So let's see how long the video recording is. Hold on.
Speech on. Stop recording video. Button. Take picture. Take picture. Stop. Mute. 14 minutes. 20 seconds. Mute. Stop recording video. Speech on.
All right. So we're going to continue with scales. So this is where chromatic notes come in. So when we talk about chromatic notes, we're talking about not only these notes, but we're also talking about these. And these are called sharps and flats. And on a keyboard, on a regular piano keyboard, you have these black keys, which are all the sharps and flats, and the white keys are the natural keys. So gonna show you how the chromatic scale actually works. So basically it goes like C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C. So, and then also when you go down, C, B, B flat, C, B, B flat, A sharp, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, C. So sharps are basically when you go higher. So this is C sharp, but this is also D flat because it's lower. So this is C sharp, but if you go lower, that's D and D flat. So that's how sharps and flats work. So even when you see a musical score that says, maybe one musical score says G, F sharp, G, and then another one said G, G flat, G, it basically means the same thing. That means the same thing. So this is also F sharp, but this is also G flat. And so these flats can have two names. They can be sharps or they can be flats. And then, okay, now I'm going to show you. And then, so let's wrap it up here. So first we learned about, so basically, when we go back to the octave concept, this C is 12 chromatic notes. So there's 12 majors and 12 minors. This is 12 chromatic notes. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. So first we learned about legato and staccato. Legato basically means you play long notes, and then staccato is short. And then we talked about scales, so the natural notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And then we talked about there's two different types of scales, which is the pentatonic scale and the diatonic scale. And then finally, we talked about octaves and the concept of octaves. And then finally, we talked about chromatic notes. So these steps into these notes. There's sharps and flats. So thanks for watching this video. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And our next music lesson is going to be on dynamics and semitones. So thanks for watching, and until next time, bye guys.